Okay, welcome to another video. Today's topic is numerical solutions to equations. It's also called iteration, and this is relevant for students who are preparing for the P3 exam this year. Uh, let's start off with the examples. Let's first talk about what are numerical solutions to equations. So let's say I give you a question that looks something like this. Now, I know for a fact that this is neither algebraic nor trigonometric completely nor exponential completely, so it's a mix of all of those. So I don't know how to solve it. I could maybe start sketching a curve and see where it's equals to 3, but that also seems very challenging at this point. So this is where numerical solutions to equations comes in, and what we then come up with is a method called iteration, where we try to figure out a value for x that balances this equation that I have on the screen. So it can be used for any other equation as well, but we will be strictly using for equations that sort of are a mixture of algebra and trigonometry, or algebra and exponentials, and so on. So that is the primary purpose of numerical solutions to equations. Now, um, when this sort of question comes up on the exam, it comes up with numerous parts. So in the first two or three examples, what I'm going to show you is how to solve those parts. So the first part is usually about sketching a curve. It says by sketching the graphs of y equals to x cubed and y equals to 4 minus x, show that the equation x cubed plus x minus 4 has a root between 1 and 2. Now on the exam as well, you'll be given this blank space where you'll have to sketch. Remember that this is not a plot, it's a sketch. Yet I would advise you to sort of measure and then sort of draw. I am drawing the straight line first because it seems like an easy draw. So I see the y-intercept as 4. So I'm going to mark this as 4. And I'm going to say that you can find out the x-intercept. You can say that 4 minus x equals to 0, therefore x equals to 4. So that is what the line looks like. Okay, now from my O-level exam, I know that y equals to x cubed looks something like this on the x-axis, on the origin. So I can draw it like that, and I will also draw it like that because it's difficult to measure and to come up with a whole set of numbers, because 2 goes to, when I do 2 cube, it goes up to 8. So the line is going to look something like this. So the curve is going to look something like this. It should be balanced on both sides. Okay, so that is my y equals to x cubed. What am I trying to prove here? I am trying to prove here that these two graphs show that the equation x cubed plus x minus 4 equals to 0. Now, what do these graphs have to do with this equation? Remember that in earlier on chapters, we've learned that when you are trying to find out the intersection point, you solve simultaneously. So if I solve simultaneously, do I get my equation? Yes, it looks like it's the same equation that the question is talking about. So I could say that whatever the result of solving them simultaneously will be the same result that I can obtain from this equation. So they will both give me the same value of x that looks like something between 1 and 2. Why? Because at 1, this graph was at 1 and this graph was at 3. Okay, then at 2, this graph went on to be at 8. 2 cube is 8. So that's 8. So it's relatively high, which means that this point of intersection must have been somewhere between 1 and 2. I can also draw a dotted line and show you that. So in these questions, I can ask you about any graph. I can ask you about the graphs of trigonometric functions. I can ask you about the graphs of exponential functions, logarithmic functions, whatever the case may be. So that's usually the first part of the question. Then the second part of the question is more about algebraically proving. So it says show by calculation that the equation this has a root between 0 and 1. Let's first learn how to solve it, and then we're going to see the logic of it as well. What I'm going to do is, since it is asking me to prove that the root is between 0 and 1, what I can show you is that 0 minus 1. That gives me minus 1. I've calculated f of 0. Then I'm going to calculate f of 1. So 1 power 5 plus 1 minus 1. That gives me 1. How does this prove that there's a root between? Remember that the root was basically the root of an equation. Now, I'm not talking about this intersection point right now. I'm talking about the root of this equation. Had I drawn this cubic graph, it would have been something like that. So in this case, the power 5 graph would also have been something like that. When I draw this graph, this has an x-intercept between 0 and 1. How does this prove the values that I've just calculated? Now notice that when I plugged in f of 0, it gave me minus 1, which means that my graph was here. And when I plugged in 1, my graph came up here. Let's draw a bigger axis because I want to show you something. Okay, so my graph was initially here and then it came here. I don't know what the shape looks like, whether it's concave or convex or straight line or whatever the case may be, but I know that if the y coordinate has changed signs, I can confidently tell you that this curve must have crossed the x-axis, and when it crosses the x-axis, it passes through a root. So I can say that since y values have changed signs within this interval, the root lies between 0 and 1. Moving on to the next question. Now, this has something to do with both graphs now. So it's saying by sketching a suitable pair of graphs, show that the equation cos x equals to 2x minus 1. Now, I know how to draw cos x, and I'm just asking you for the graph between 0 and pi, 0 and half pi. So I'm just going to mark pi over 2, and I'm going to say that this is 1. So I'm going to use 1 and draw the graph of cos x. So the graph of cos x looks like something like this between these values. Rise. Okay, I would go on and sort of be like that, but I don't need the entire graph. That's the first graph. Now, oh, okay, I didn't highlight that by sketching a suitable pair of graphs. So what are the two graphs that I'm drawing? I'm drawing cos x and I'm drawing 2x minus 1, because these are the two equations that I've solved simultaneously. So I'm looking for the root of this equation. So if I draw the graph like I had drawn in the previous example as well, I will end up with the same x value, that is the intersection point or the root of the equation basically. So let's try to draw this graph. This is a straight line. It's going to have a y-intercept at minus 1. Now I have to be careful when I draw it because my axis is no longer in integer numbers. Pi over 2 is 1.57 something. So I'm going to say that I plug in 1.57 and see what value I get. What is 2 into 1.57? 1.571 into 2 minus 1. That gives me 2.142. So I'm going to say that this graph will be somewhere here. And it's going to be a straight line that goes like that. So again, I've proved that between this interval there is one intersection point. Therefore one root of the equation cos x equals to 2x minus 1. Okay, that's the first part A. Part B says, verify by calculation that this root lies between 0.8 and 0.9. Now, like last time, I'm going to plug in the values, but you see what the difference is between this equation and that equation? wasn't just an equation, it was a function where everything had been brought to the left hand side and it said equals to 0. So what I am also going to do is I'm going to first create a function and say that that function will have y values that are going to change. So cos x minus 2x plus 1 equals to 0, and I'm going to say that this is f of x. What am I then going to plug in? I am going to plug in first f of 0.8 and then f of 0.9. If my values of y change sign, so they either go from negative to positive or from positive to negative, I will say that the root lies between 0.8 and 0.9. So when I do 0.8, I've plugged in all x's as 0.8. I get 0.8 plus 1. I get 0.0967. And let's plug in 0.9. I get minus 0.178. So I'm going to say that change of sign indicates root, and this is what you have to do in each of these questions for the first and second part. Usually depends on what the question is about, but that is what you're going to do, and you're going to say that we found out the interval where the root lies. Now let's look at example number 4. It says equation this has a negative root alpha. Although this is a quadratic equation, I know how to solve a quadratic equation. I can either use factorization or the quadratic formula and come up with that. But this question is to show you how iteration works. So we are going to do this question. It says show that this equation can be rearranged as x equals to 3 over x minus 1. Okay, I think that's pretty simple. I can say that this goes there, and not only this, I can do this and then divide everything by x. So this becomes x equals to 3 over x minus 1. This is a simple rearrangement question. There will be more complicated rearrangement questions as well. It's part B that I want you to now carefully look at, because this is where I teach you the iterative process using your calculator. It says using the formula, use the iterative formula xn plus 1 equals to 3 over xn minus 1. Now, if I want you to understand how this formula will work, it says with the starting value of x1. So if I take x1 here, that means I'm taking n as 1. And what would this become? This would become x2. So how am I coming up with x2? I'm using x1 here to come up with x2. Okay. So I'm going to say that x2 is basically 3 over x1 minus 1. I don't have to write this on the exam, but I'm just showing you. Minus 1. Okay, let's find out what that is. Okay, so I can do that on my calculator. 3 over minus 2.5 minus 1. Okay, that gives me minus 2.2. Now remember that this process involves doing iterative process, which means a repetitive process. So in x3, I'm going to write down 3 over x2 minus 1. Now I don't need to write down each of these individual values, and it's going to get tough because each of these is then going to convert into a lot of decimal places as well. Let's show you something, and I'll tell you what the shortcut is. And this gives me a huge value. This gives me minus 2.3636. It's saying giving the result of each iteration to 4 decimal places and find alpha correct to 2 decimal places. So your alpha in this case, I'm finding out values for alpha, would be minus 2.36. Okay, now you can all understand that it's going to get tedious if I keep writing all of these numbers repetitively. So for example, if I'm writing again on my calculator minus 2.3636, and it gets tougher as I go on. So what I am going to do is I'm going to open up the calculator on screen for you and show you a shortcut. Okay, I hope you can now see the calculator on my screen. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use my x1, which in this case is minus 2.5, and I'm going to put that on my calculator, minus 2.5, and I'm going to say equals to. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to use this expression that I have from the iterative formula and construct it on my calculator. I'll write 3, I'll write over the answer minus 1. Okay, so I've constructed the entire thing on my calculator and I'm going to press an equals to. This gives me the second x2, then x3. For x3, I don't need to do anything else. I just need to press an equals to again, and this is going to give me x3. Now, can I do x4? Yes, I can do that on my calculator. I know that I need to write all the iterations correct too. 4 decimal places, so I'm going to round that off and tell you that this is minus 2.7, 2.27. I'm going to press another equals to and see where this goes. X5 is minus 2.3220. Now you must be thinking, where do I stop? I am going to stop in a bit. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to calculate x6, and that gives me minus 2.197, so 2920, and that gives me minus 2.29. I'm going to round off x7 minus 2.3089, and that comes out to be minus 2.31. I'm going to press another equals to x8 minus 2.2993. That gives me minus 2.30. Press another equals to minus 2.3047. So that rounds off to minus 2.30. And another one, x10 minus 2.3017, minus 2.30. Now you see, your requirement was to give you alpha correct to 2 decimal places. This 2 decimal place answer has repeated thrice. Therefore, I am going to say that that is the final value of x. That is going to be the root of the equation, the original equation. Okay, so minus 2.30 is a value for x that balances that equation. Now you might think that this was a quadratic equation. Why did I just not do the quadratic formula? Yes, you could have done the quadratic formula and you would have gotten the same answer. But this question is geared to teach you how the iterative process works. Now, it's not necessary to have a quadratic equation everywhere. For example, if you look at this equation, this won't work with a calculator. You won't be able to solve this with a calculator. If you look at this equation now, e power x minus 1 equals to 2x. Again, that wouldn't work on a calculator directly, and that is why we learn the iterative process. Let me demonstrate this to you once more with the help of a past paper question. Let's look at this. This has all the things put together. It says the equation e power x minus 1 equals to 2x has a root alpha equals to 0. So one of the roots is alpha equals to 0. Show by calculation that the equation has a root beta such that beta is between 1 and 2. Now, what did we learn? We learned that if I want to prove this algebraically, I have to bring everything on one side and create a function first. Once I've created a function, I can then go on and say that f of 1, let's quickly calculate that, e power 1, okay, I can do this in front of you, so e power 1 minus 1 minus 2, that gives me minus 0.2817, and f of 2, so e power 2 minus 1 minus 2 times 2. So I am going to write 2 times 2 in a bracket. Ideally, bracket came up wrong. Okay, so 2.38 9. So change of sign indicates root. Part A. Part B says, show that this equation can be rearranged as x equals to ln 2x plus 1. Yes, I can show you that. I think that's pretty simple. So 2x plus 1 first. When you either you can put an ln on both sides and say that this is what it becomes. X ln e is 1. So this becomes x equals to ln 2x plus 1. Then it says use an iteration process based on the equation in part B. Now we've not learned how to construct an iterative formula. Let's do that. If you notice in the previous question, I asked you to make x the subject. Then what I did was with this x that was isolated, I had a subscript of n plus 1. With the x that wasn't isolated, I had a subscript of n. So what I going to do here, I'm going to construct an iterative formula that xn plus 1 equals to ln 2xn plus 1. I've written an n plus 1 subscript on the left hand side, and for those on the right hand side I have xn. Now in the previous question I had a starting value of x1. This one doesn't give me a starting value as well, but it says use the iterative formula. So what is my x1 going to be? X1 is going to be the midpoint of interval. The interval that I've given you, 1 and 2. So what's the midpoint? So that's 1.5. So what am I going to do on my calculator? I'm going to write 1.5 equals to, that's x1, and then I'm going to write my expression in terms of the answer. 2 into answer minus plus 1 plus 1. So what this gives me is x2. What do I have to write? I have to write each iterative process correct to 5 significant figures and beta correct to 3 significant figures. So 1.3863. That's 5 significant figures, and 2 significant figures is 1.39. I press another equals to, I get 1.3278, 1.33. X4 is 1.2962, 1.30. 1.2788, 1.28, 1.2691, 1.27. Press another equals to 1.2636, 1.26. Then it's 1.2605, so 1.26. This seems like it might repeat. Let's do another one, and this has repeated. 1.2586, 88. 1.26. So on the exam as well, you will be asked to write each iteration. The number of significant figures or the degree of accuracy will be specified for you. Now remember that what you found out is beta, which was the root, and that is what you were trying to find out. So with 3 repetitions you stop there. Even with 2 repetitions it's absolutely fine. It's the third one is just to make sure that sometimes it happens that the decimals are very close together and they sort of deviate. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions. There will be a part 2 to this equation where I solve more past paper questions. Please keep watching. Thank you.